Mr. Wyatt Castor from Kubota Tractor Corporation. Wyatt, why don't you tell us what you do?
So I'm a ag product specialist for Kubota Tractor Corporation. So I take care of 3 different states in the Central Division region, and take care of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. I specialize in the large ag sector of the Kubota business, so anything from 100 horsepower to 200, and all the hay tools.
All right, we also have Cam and Caio. So the normal group. Big Shifter Steve is not here today because we sent him on a mission with his truck and he hasn't called us, so we guess he's going to arrive back safely. So the reason Steve's on the road is because he's teeing us up for tomorrow. So Wyatt and Cam, what have you guys been doing this week?
Seeing how that M7 is doing in the cane field right now.
How is it going?
It looks like it belongs there.
Yeah, so for our listeners and our viewers on YouTube, at Range, we like to try to make sure that we're the most value-added player in the market. And for those of you who do business here, you know that's how we roll. And one thing that we've been talking to Kubota about a lot for the last few years is, could we introduce a tractor to the market had an equivalent or better feature set than what the customers were used to? Could we prove that there was the reliability that a customer would expect from Kubota in a big ag platform, and we could also do it in a more economical way? And so we think we've done that. And there were challenges, right? So what are our challenges?
One is, we're taking a tractor that was primarily built for the livestock sector, and we're putting it into sugarcane. So there's a lot of difference when you're talking about taking a tractor that's used to taking a bale of hay out to the cows to actually loading it up with sugar and getting it through the mud. A lot of different things that we got to do there. We got to get the right tire package on the tractor, make sure we got enough clearance to get over the rows. A lot of different things that we weren't quite used to on the Kubota side, but a little help from Range here, I think we've got a package that's going to work real good for you cane operators.
We're pretty impressed because we had a lot of questions on this product, not so much on the Kubota reliability, but the way the tractor's designed. To Wyatt's point, it's primarily was designed as a big livestock tractor. And then so for us to be able to run effectively in sugarcane, and if you're not familiar with the sugarcane business, globally it's kind of recognized as being the hardest application that you can put a tractor in. And so we put 520/85 42 tires on the back of it that the tractor was never, ever intended to have a tire that size. And so we really lucked out. We didn't have to make any modifications to the tractor at all to fit those tires. And then we've got a 480/70 R34, and these are all R2s going around. And so that's one thing that tractor manufacturers really struggle with is an R2 tire going from an R1W is typically have a whole extra inch of lug height, if not more, maybe sometimes an inch and a half more lug height. And then so fender clearance, fuel tank clearance, all that stuff's an issue, worrying about how we can set our steering stops on it. And so we were really lucky. And the best part about the M7 product is using the ZF transmission that they use, we now have best in class. We're right there. Best in class are right equal to the clearance numbers that we need to be competitive in the marketplace. And then one thing that we preach to everybody, so if anybody's listening and has to set up a tractor to perform, weighting and ballasting is key. And so our friends at Lawson Tire talk about this a lot. If you've ever done any business with Lawson Tire, they talk about the right tractor with the wrong tire is the wrong tire. And so what we saw in the field is, because we set this tractor up at the dealership, and Cam went and looked at the load and inflation tables for that tractor, for those tires rather. We ballasted the tractor properly, and we put an operator in an M7 154 that came out of a 220 horsepower tractor, and he said the tractor has just as much power as the 220 horsepower tractor I came out of. And we've learned that before. We've had customers with plus 300 horsepower tractors, and they pick them up from the dealership and they want to weight them and ballast them like they want to do. And the first thing they do is they call and they complain and they say, well, the tractor feels like it's a pig or too much wheel slip or blah, 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 blah. And one of the best examples we have on that is 340 horsepower tractor trying to pull a 30-foot Namco blade. They're slipping like crazy. Best they could do is get the thing to work in ninth gear. And then we go out to the tractor the next morning. Customer complained, said it's never going to work, want to trade the tractor in, chip the tractor, tune the tractor, change the tractor color, anything other than just doing what we're supposed to do. And we put 9.5 pounds of air all the way around on the tractor, and we take 1,800 pounds of ballast off the front of it, and we fill the back tires half full with water because we didn't have cast ballast, because of course nobody wants that. And then all of a sudden we go back in the field and then we're running in 11th gear, and the customer still owns the tractor today. So Caio, what do you think?
I think it was yesterday. I was playing with Kian. I remember this race, just playing with him and I say, yeah, you're gonna have to remember this for your life. The right tractor with the wrong balance and the wrong tire is the wrong tractor. It stuck to my head whenever you told me that. So it really is, like about the setup. Talking about drones, like if you have the right drone, if you have the right chemical, but you do like the wrong settings, if you install the wrong propeller, if you have anything wrong in the settings, you have the wrong drone. You're not gonna do a good mission. When it comes to setting up your tractor, it's something that you really have to pay attention to.
Well, it's not only that, man. I mean, it's the performance of the that you're actually getting on the tractor, but it's the comfort as the operator. You take a tractor that's got improperly inflated tires, you're going to be riding a rough paddy wagon all the way down through the field. I mean, you get a tractor set up, weighted right, balanced right, get that air pressure exactly the way it needs to be, you'll be riding on that cloud all the way.
Oh, and it's so true because when we did the big tractor a few years ago, I waited. The customer would not call me, right? And because it's a big commotion and drama and stuff. And so I waited till like 2 o'clock that afternoon. I called him and he says, I knew you were going to call. And I said, yeah, well, tell me what. He says, what did you do to my tractor? I said, what do you mean what I do to your tractor? You were right there. No, you did something. You did something when I wasn't looking. I said, why is that? He said, my operator didn't make it a half mile down the road and called me and said, Billy did something to the tractor. It rides better. Well, yeah, we went from having 25 pounds of air, 620 R46 duals, and 634 front duals on this tractor, having 25 pounds of air all the way around to having 9.5 pounds of air. And so I did a ballast recommendation for a guy in the Midwest that asked a question on Facebook. He's got a Steiger 450 and wanting to know if he could run single-digit air pressure. And the guy's running 710, 7042s on a 450 Steiger. And I said, man, I can tell you without looking at the load and inflation tables, you can just put 10 pounds of air in the thing all the way around, maybe even a little bit less, and it's going to ride good, it's going to pull good, everything's going to get right, and you're just going to feel better, and the tractor's going to be so much better. So to Wyatt's point, it bothers me because people say, oh, the tractor rides rough.
And Billy, nowadays it's so easy. I mean, you don't have to get the paper and the pencil out and the calculator to find that ballast. I mean, every major tire manufacturer today has an app. Put the size of tire you got, what kind of load you got on the tractor, and boom, it's going to tell you exactly how much weight you need, how much air needs to be in that tire.
Right.
And then here you go, getting the maximum performance out of your tractor.
Cam, what happened yesterday when we put 12 pounds of air in those tires? What looks did we get?
Yeah, it was. They were pretty. What's the word?
Oh, that tire a little low.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So in the overall weight, like in the average tractor for cane, what's the weight that we're usually looking to, like a good setup for a tractor?
So
the overall weight.
It always starts at pounds per PTO horsepower. So typically in the cane world, we want to be a little heavy ballasted, and that may not be good or bad, but that's just kind of what people are going to like. And so on this M7 154, we're running 130 pounds per PTO horsepower, which is on the ish high end, but it's not crazy like 140 pounds. And so we've got this tractor running about 17,000 pounds. We got a full rack of 14 weights on the front, and because we have kind of an abomination on the rear wheels, we made a set of wheels to do this test and these demos, and so we don't have Kubota wheel weights. We got them 50% full of water, and so that's just kind of us rule of thumb in it. So we're looking for about in a haulage application on an MFWD tractor, we're looking for 65% of the weight on the back and about 35% on the front. And really in this hauling, because these cane wagons, they're pretty tongue neutral. We could probably even go like 60-40 on it, but we're probably sitting somewhere 65-35-ish. Yeah. But when we went, Cam was looking up the load and inflation tables, and I declared, it needs 12 pounds of air. And everybody looks at me like I'm nuts. And they put 12 pounds of air, and oh, God, guess what? Radial tire, we got about 3 lugs on the ground, and everybody looked at it like it was flat. But it's not flat. That's how the tractor works. One day before the end of my career, I will convince the ag industry as a whole that the tire manufacturers are pretty smart. They know what they're doing. They know this stuff has been studied ad nauseum for decades and decades and decades and decades. And to Wyatt's point, if you go online, if you use the weighting and ballasting calculator that every equipment manufacturer has on their website, every tire company has on their website, and you start to spend a little bit of time, you burn less fuel, the ride quality is better, the drivetrain life is greatly increased in just your whole world. And that's what we try to do here at Range. As we can add more value with our brands, when we add value to producers and make their operations more efficient, then customers see more value in doing business with us. And so that's been something that's really been a blessing for us this week, is to have Wyatt here with us, to spend a week with us, drill down to all the details, make sure that the product's reliable, because we don't want to go to market with something that's not reliable. We want to make sure that the customer has a really, really good experience. And that's something that's been a real pleasure this week, is that Kubota's delivered us something that appears to just be beyond belief reliable, no initial quality issues at all. And so I'm going to brag on Wyatt and the guys at Kubota Tractor, because we've been talking about this M7 here for a number of years, and my question has always been initial quality, initial quality, initial quality. I want to go to the field with something that we can brag on, and you guys delivered a home run. So we thank you for that.
And I heard this pretty cool thing about the M7, that it's been 5-6 days and no fault codes.
No fault codes.
Yeah, we're up to 70 hours now.
Yeah, so 70 hours running in Louisiana sugarcane. People at home, people watching YouTube, people listening to podcasts, people don't realize that, sugarcane is 10 foot tall or more or whatever, and we have to make a break-in where we actually smash the cane with the tractor, because there's a big wall of sugarcane, and the harvester only goes one row at a time. So to cut the first adjacent rows, we're just driving over the crop, and that crop always has a tendency to pop right back up and pull wires off the bottom of the tractor and do all kind of crazy stuff. The M7 just went right through it and didn't pull any wires off, so Kubota did a really good job routing the harnesses. Something to me near and dear to my heart that I thought was really nice is no leaks. And that's hard, right? A modern big ag tractor by design is inherently complicated. And so it's got controllers, it's got a bunch of hoses, it's got a bunch of tubes, it's got a bunch of stuff, right? And that's the way of the world we live in ag 2023, right? Is that to deliver the functionality that the customer wants, to deliver the reduced emissions that the EPA requires us to have, and that, that's just being good citizens, right? And we'll talk about this more in other episodes. People want to fault tier 4 emissions, but when you get down to the brass tacks, I kind of like living in this world. And I know that tier 4 emissions, it's a 90% reduction in diesel exhaust emissions than what we had in 1998. And so to make all that work without having a problem after we run it for 70 hours, and that's normal to be expected. We put a big ag tractor out in the field, it's a complicated vehicle. Yeah, there might be a little something loose or something we have to adjust. Thank you, Kubota. We didn't have to do any of that. So Cam was pretty happy because he didn't have to call a tech.
Yeah.
We can just go run a demo.
I know, Cameron, I know you're excited, of watching the M7 dumping. But is there any other thing that you guys, the M7 really impressed? Like, something that you're not sure how the M7 was going to do, and then did super great?
Well, the report I got from the operator that was testing it, he claimed that it had just as much power as a Magnum 200. And the way it crossed the rows and how it pulled, it had no trouble whatsoever. And then the reason I was concerned about the dump, and I was more so concerned about, when you load cane, you pick the entire basket, the whole cart up, and then you have to make a pivot. And that's what I was concerned about, was how is it going to operate on the pivot? Had the same cycle time as a Magnum. No issues whatsoever. Another thing that the operator said was it turned. We have a video of that too, as it's coming out the block, just turning, about 2 feet shorter than a Magnum.
Yeah, and that's something that I've really struggled with personally, because I like a big chassis, big long row crop tractor.
Bigger is better.
But I've had customers tell me, and it makes sense in sugarcane, it's such a high value added crop, so high, that if we can plant more inches, it translates to more dollars at the end of the year. And so by bringing an M7 out in the field, that's a really short chassis little tractor. But one of the reasons that we like the big long chassis tractors were the cane cart, when it's fully loaded, that thing is 15,000 pounds empty with 20,000 pounds of crop in it. And we're pulling it through the mud. So, we're 35,000 pounds on the drawbar. And typically those bigger, longer tractors will do a lot better job jumping the end of the rows coming out of the cut block. But because they're so long, they'll cut that extra, 2 foot off of the planted field across the turn row, and that creates a lot of problems when it starts to get wet like it did here. But the M7, because it's so short, but it's also so strong. M7, okay, so check this out. This is an analogy I just come up. An M7 tractor is a crossfitter. That's what it is. It's a crossfitter.
I like to call it a Tacoma.
Yeah.
The M7 is also a Tacoma.
Yeah, it's Tacoma.
Like a base Tacoma.
Yeah. It's a stout little thing that's got some weight on it, and it's ready to go do muscle ups. And it's really impressive. So we didn't talk about this yet, and I want Wyatt to talk about this transmission technology. Because one of the things that I don't think gets mentioned in marketing materials, you don't hear people talk about it, but the 30-speed power shift transmission that's in an M7, I've been in the ag equipment business for 25 years, ran tractor engineering platforms, developed tractors that had their first power shifts ever put in them in the platforms. And the beauty of the M7, what I think is the most value added feature in the whole product is full power shift transmission, press the brake and it stops, take your foot off the brake and it goes.
Yeah, so we call it the auto restart feature on the actual M7 itself, and with that, that semi-power shift transmission, it once you step on that brake, that tractor comes to a complete stop. So if you're going 5 mile an hour down through the field, you hit that brake, it stops, you let off the brake, we're going to slowly regain back to that 5 mile an hour, and that's a game changer because then you're not sitting there riding the clutch the whole time. You ain't got operators that are inching the clutch, and that's going to lead to more clutch replacements down the road, whereas you're completely getting that operator off the clutch of that tractor whatsoever. So it's actually going to give you a lot more longevity of that actual internal components of that transmission just because of that feature. The other thing about that 30x15 is it gives you those gears within those range that you need them. I mean, there are some overlap in between those each ranges because sometimes we always want a little bit more RPM but a little less speed. And when we're getting there with that 30x15, we've got those underlaps and overlaps within those ranges that actually get us to that perfect speed.
And there's a creeper option too.
You add that creeper in there, now you've got a 50x32.
Yeah, and so for us, we still hand plant a lot of cane, and so by bringing a creeper in, we don't have to sell an IVT transmission because we can put somebody in a reliable, simple power shift. And look, Kubota is going to call it a semi-power shift. Folks at home, it is not a power quad. It is not an auto quad plus. It has one lever, and if you want to start in A1 and you want to shift it 30 gears up, it will go 30 gears up just like a full power shift will. And so how I've been explaining it to customers is this: when you're used to a traditional power shift, it still has ranges. Mm-hmm. It's got a low, medium, and a high range. This one just happens to have 6 of them. And something that I think is really nice about this transmission is you can set it to where it only starts in the C range. And then so basically we've made it an 18-speed transmission. But we can still go down into the lows.
Yeah, and we can also change that transmission or we lock it within that range. So if we want to stay in C range and only shift from 1 to 5, it's going to stay right there.
And there's an auto shift feature on it too.
There is the auto shift feature, which is really nice, especially with pulling those cane carts. We get out of that row, we want to catch them gears back up. We just hit our auto shift button, the tractor automatically speeds back up to where we need it to go. That's nice. Shifts those ranges all the way up.
Yeah, the guy who developed the control system for this transmission used his head for more than a hat rack. It's really impressive.
So I know it's very, very early, or maybe not that early, to talk about the future of Kubota and ag industry. Will Kubota go to bigger tractors, or?
So currently we do have one more tractor that is actually bigger, the M7 series. We have the M8, and we also have that in a 181 horsepower frame and a 201 horsepower frame. Currently, that's as big as we are. Is there a future plan? I honestly don't know. Mm-hmm. Could there be? Could there not be? Sure. Right now, we're comfortable with the product that we have, and we want to try to bring the best ag product to the market at the right time. Mm-hmm. So, if the market warranties it and we feel confident in the product, I'm sure there might be something in the future, but we'll just have to see how things go. But currently where we stand within the ag market is, we introduced the M7 series tractor in 2015. Mm-hmm. So 2015 is when we actually rolled the first tractors to the dealers in the spring of 2016. So M7 tractor is not a new piece that we just came out with. It's been around for a little while. So we've gotten to take the bugs and the things that we found on the first generation tractor and we took those things and we fixed them when we introduced the M7 Gen 2. The M7 Gen 2, we're now phasing out of the Gen 2. We're on our 4th series of generation of this tractor. It's got some history behind it now. It's got a really big history for reliability. I've still got some of the same Gen 1 M7 tractors out on a dairy in West Texas. It's got well over 15,000 hours, and them babies are still running them tub grinders all day long. We've got a few down in some dairies that's running crap suckers. I mean, they run every day from 5 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. And that's the one thing the customers like is the reliability of the machine. It's not down. They don't have to have that backup tractor sitting in the shed. And if they do, we've got good Kubota dealers that's going to come out with their service trucks and we're going to get them taken care of. We've got the downtime assistance program on the tractors themselves. So if the tractor's underneath warranty and we can't get the part or get the repair done in a timely manner, then us as Kubota, we help the dealer out by offering them a loaner tractor to provide to the customer to get them through that time that they need. So Kubota's going to back the ag industry, and we're not just a lot of companies look at Kubota as, they're just a small tractor company. Kubota's really grown in the past few years.
They have.
Largely. I mean, but some of the strides that we took, I mean, in 2016, we brought Great Plains manufacturing. That really helped us start stepping into the ag sector. I believe it's right around 2014 we purchased the Converlin Group. That gave us our hay tool line of it. And we've brought all this in-house to where we are the only OEM manufacturer currently that builds 100% of its products in our own. So we don't have a bunch of OEM agreements where we're having to chase several different hurdles to be able to get an answer to fix our product. We can go to our own people within our own factories and get to the root cause of the problem to get our customers fixed faster.
And I think that's something in the industry that sometimes Kubota gets treated a little unfairly about. Kubota's seen as being a company that might be a little bit too conservative with how they launch products, but from a Kubota dealer perspective, one thing that I think is really good is when Kubota decides that they're going to enter a market, it's very well thought out. The actions are very deliberate. And we'll talk about Sidekick side-by-sides, right? Because watch our YouTube channel. We probably have the best Sidekick YouTube video ever created, courtesy of Caio, Cam, and Steve. Kubota gets treated a little unfairly on the Sidekick. Oh, well, you slow-rolled it. You don't have a four-seater and blah, 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 blah. But you know what? You also don't hear people talking about Sidekicks like a Polaris that the engine's shot its guts out all over the place, or it caught on fire, or there's no product support. Here's looking at you, Arctic Cat, and you can't get any of that stuff because Kubota will stand behind their stuff forever and ever and ever. And that's okay when you know that Kubota's dedicated to the industry and that they're going to slow roll it. And so we can talk about this publicly because Kubota had it at their dealer meeting 2 years ago. Kubota's really interested in electrification. But where you can go to Lowe's and buy an Ego, who's going to service it? You're not going to tell me you're going to buy an electric lawnmower. It's never going to... who's going to work on that, right? Kubota's got electric lawnmowers built, but you don't see Kubota like Deere taking pre-orders for electric stuff that's not ready for prime time. Todd Stuckey, that's the newly appointed president of Kubota Tractor Corporation, will tell you, we're going to be in this electric market. We're going to be in this market, but we're going to take a conservative approach and make sure that when we enter the market, we're doing it right. We've got the right support. We've got the reliability, because that is one thing that I find Kubota probably does better than anybody. And this is any brand. Kubota reliability is legendary. And I've never seen anybody make a decision at Kubota that would jeopardize that. And that's good. And the Kubota guys like Wyatt get beat up all the time. Why don't we do this faster? Why don't we do that faster? Well, it's because the people running Kubota say, well, hold on. Our reliability is legendary, and that's what we're going to hang our hats on. And in the end, the customer might not be happy that we don't have a butt massager in it. We don't know how to make the butt massager reliable yet. That's going to last 1,000,000 hours.
The other thing is we look at our machines and some of the features and some of the benefits that we put on there. We want a strict purpose for that item or that feature. We want that to be. We're all about how is it going to enhance the customer's experience as far as operating that tractor from day to day. So we kind of take a little bit different approach. We're not just going to do something because it looks cool,
right?
Or it makes it look fancy. We're going to have a root goal of how we're going to design that tractor or that feature to actually make it proficient, or we're going to make it profitable for that operator. We're going to make the job easier or more comfortable. It's going to have a direct effect of how that operator's experience is of operating that Kubota product.
And so that, to Wyatt's point, like the cab on the M7, I think really needs to be discussed. All my career, all I've heard is we need to add more widgets and gadgets in a cab. Oh, Deere has this fancy, crazy, multicolor A-post display. Oh, we can put 25 different monitors in the cab. Oh, we can do this. Oh, we have all this. And then it gets launched. And then the customer says, well, why'd you add all this stuff? I didn't really want this. And so one of my first experiences with M7, and this really, I'm never going to forget this as long as I live. I put a large ag customer in a cab of an M7. And boys and girls at home, the cab of an M7 is really the M6 cab with some enhanced features in the inside. I put a big ag customer in an M7 cab, and he says, wow, it's really quiet. Wow, it's really simple. Wow, the controls are really intuitive. And I scratch my head and I kind of wonder, how did we get so far off track on some of these customer focus groups? And yeah, we talk about autonomy. We talked about that episodes in the past. We just talked about electrification. We know that there's some really cool things coming in tech and ag, but I also believe that for raw farm horsepower, for the vast majority of producers in the world today, the customer really wants to turn the tractor on, run the throttle up, and the thing goes forwards and backwards, and it picks the implement up and down. And in the end, that's what adds value to a producer. Yeah, there's going to be the small minority that want to have 10 monitors in the cab and the butt massager.
Well, it's just like shoes. I mean, everybody's got a certain size that fit them. So,
Right.
I mean, there's going to be customers that, that are wanting less features and benefits in the tractor, and that's where the M7 Deluxe fits in.
Correct.
I mean, it gives you the benefits of some of the electronic components that we need, such as power shifting, as far as monitoring your fuel use consumption, things of that nature. But as far as hydraulics, they're manual cable and lever controls.
Right.
I mean, they're just as simple as they get. Your flow controls, it's a turn dial. I mean, you reach out the back of the cab, if you want to speed the hydraulics up, you speed them up. Don't you just turn them down. You don't have to get through the screen. You don't have to go through there and actually diagnose what you're trying to actually do to the tractor. On the other aspect of things, we make an M7 for those guys that do.
And what's that one called?
So that's the premium series of tractor.
And what happens when you go from deluxe to premium?
So basically what happens when you go to deluxe from premium is you go from those baseline features, shift everything into the electric over hydraulic and technology sector of that tractor. So you're going to be getting those screens in there. You're going to be getting electric over hydraulic control, fingertip controls on the console. You're going to be getting headland management. You're going to be getting electronic 3-point. I mean, things that we have mechanical on the deluxe series of tractor just turns electronic on the premium series. When we talk about that mix of technology that's a need, something new that we've done on a Gen 4 tractor that we hadn't done in the past on the deluxes is what is the largest growing sector in the ag market today, and that's the use of GPS technology.
Yes.
And we've made a simple tractor that's easy to use in the deluxe series of tractor, but we've also made it auto guidance ready.
Right. Standard auto guidance ready on the deluxe.
On the Gen 4 tractors, it is standard auto guidance ready.
Even on the deluxe.
Yeah.
The one we have.
All right. And so wait, Kubota makes auto guidance?
So
Who do I get this technology from?
So currently, the way we operate is our tractors are auto guidance ready. We have what's called an open platform. And what that open platform allows customers to do is we know that we're behind in the game of ag technology as far as GPS and things of that nature and auto steering. That allows us to be able to go to a customer that's purchased $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of guidance products and put them on our machine. It doesn't have to be a Kubota steering system to operate auto steer on an M7 tractor.
So Topcon,
We can use
Trimble,
Topcon,
Deere.
Deere, Rycart, anything that you would like to use on a GPS system, we can actually put it on the M7 tractor.
And when we go to the premium tractor, Isobus.
Isobus on the premium tractor. We go into auto guidance ready as well, so that's a standard feature on the premium series tractors. So that's an open platform as well. Even though you got the Kubota screen in there, it's still an open platform to where you can utilize whatever guidance company that you want to use at this time.
And then still a semi-power shift on.
Still semi-power shift.
But
we do have the option, one more option up, to go into what we call a KVT. For those of you at home, that's similar to the Deere IVT and the KCVT. So basically, if you guys are still kind of lost with that terminology, it's basically a big hydrostat in an ag truck. Is how I like to explain it. So it's an indefinite amount of gears. So basically explaining in a KVT transmission, you can make that tractor go as slow as 0.02 mile per hour, but as fast as 32.5 with front axle suspension.
Cam, what do you think? You think people want what application do you see a KVT for?
Planning.
Planning. Yep.
Absolutely.
It
You
could
set
be
that
used-
dial going all the way down to 0.2 and just kind of let it cruise.
So when you get into that KVT, there's just endless possibilities that you can do with that actual transmission. I mean, I've got some dealers in Arkansas that actually sell that tractor to municipalities and counties, and they use a FAE road grinder mulcher behind it. So it basically is a machine that they run over the asphalt to chew it up. They inject a chemical compound into it and then run a hot roller right off the back of it to actually recompact and smooth out the roads. So for the municipality sector of that, it's a one-pass solution. They don't have to have as many machines to do the same job as what this KVT tractor and this FAE head machine can do with the M7 product.
And you're confident with the M7 running a road grinder behind it?
Oh yeah.
Because that's like the hardest. Okay, so I lied, right? I told you, sure, it's hard to say. But that's one of the toughest applications I've ever seen a tractor get put in. putting a road grinder behind it, because it loads it up. There's not a new sheriff in town because the sheriff has been around for a while, and so far we're impressed. We're really, really, really impressed. So we hope that anybody tonight, we're shooting this tonight or we're recording it tonight, but people thinking about, there's all kind of stuff going on in ag equipment. Boy, and this is funny. Everybody wants to talk about Fendt. Everybody wants to talk about Fendt. I'm not real bullish yet on that. May never be. But I think people should start looking more at what's happening with Team Orange, because I think Team Orange has some really, really, really good stuff going right now. Yeah, and I mean, if the guys on Yellowstone run orange, then I don't see why anybody else wouldn't want to run orange. Closing thoughts?
Yeah.
Everybody's happy. We're trying to make customers happy, and with Wyatt's help and Kubota's help, and God bless the engineers that are working on the M7, because you guys have done a good job. Cheers.
Before you exit this video, subscribe to our channel. We're releasing videos almost every month now, like at least 2 a month. We're releasing the podcasts. We're recording podcasts every Thursday, actually. So we're really pushing the social media right now. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave your like, comment below. Facebook, all our pages are going to be down below. So if you want to follow any of us in social media, we'll be below. Thank you.